An OTP arrives. A simple 6-digit code, a flicker of light in a dark room. To the employee receiving it, it's just another routine step in a busy workday, a minor digital hurdle meant to protect the gates of a multi-million-dollar corporation. But within seconds of that code being entered, the very wall built to protect the organization becomes the instrument of its destruction. We are told that two-factor authentication is the ultimate shield, the gold standard of modern security. But in the world of corporate fraud, we are discovering a terrifying truth. The strongest security layer is actually the weakest link. Tonight, we peel back the digital curtain on the OTP trap, a sophisticated game of psychological manipulation and technical precision where the keys to the kingdom are handed over by the very people paid to guard them. Welcome to an investigative deep dive into the trust that betrays. This is the story of how a single code can drain a corporate treasury before anyone even knows the door was left open. Why do we feel so safe when we see that prompt for a code? The one-time password was designed to solve a fundamental human failure. Passwords are stolen, leaked, or simply guessed. By adding a second, temporary layer, banks and global corporations believed they had finally created a foolproof barrier. It's a temporary code, a digital breath that exists only for you and only for this exact moment. This design creates a profound psychological sense of finality and security, a false finish line. When that code is entered, the system sighs with relief, confirming that the person behind the screen is indeed the authorized user. It feels like the ultimate validation. But as our investigation will reveal, this very sense of security is the foundation upon which the modern fraudster builds their attack. They don't need to break the vault door if they can convince you, with perfect confidence, to hand over the key yourself. In the next few minutes, we will see how this safe code becomes a weapon in the hands of a master manipulator. Here is the hidden vulnerability that almost every organization overlooks in their security audits. An OTP does not verify intent. It only verifies action. The banking system, no matter how advanced, has no way of knowing if the employee entering the code is doing so to authorize a legitimate vendor payment, or if they are being coerced by a convincing voice on the other end of a phone line. This logical gap is the playground of the sophisticated criminal. They have realized that hacking a reinforced server is hard, time-consuming, and leaves an unmistakable digital trail. But hacking the human mind? That is a path of much lower resistance and much higher reward. They understand the fraud triangle, the pressure, the opportunity, and the rationalization. They don't look for holes in the code, they look for holes in our psychology. We are about to witness the exact moment they set the stage for a disclosure that can drain a corporate treasury of millions in under 60 seconds. The trap is set, and the bait is your own sense of duty. The attack never begins with the OTP request itself. It starts with the setup, the pretext. Fraudsters don't hack systems first. They hack people. Imagine an employee named Priya at a global logistics firm. She receives an email that looks identical to an internal IT advisory. It warns of a security breach and requests her to stand by for a verification call from the bank's fraud department. The email is perfect. The logos, the font, the authoritative tone. It creates a narrative that justifies the strange events about to follow. By the time the phone rings, Priya isn't suspicious. She's relieved. She thinks help is on the line to save the company from a breach. But the person calling isn't from the bank. They are the architect of a heist, using reconnaissance techniques like LinkedIn scraping to know her name, her role, and her direct supervisor's department. They aren't strangers. They have studied her digital life to become the most trusted person she will talk to all day. Your account is at risk. We've detected a suspicious transfer of $50,000. We need to block it immediately. The voice on the phone is calm, professional, and radiating investigative intelligence. This is the authority trap. Fraudsters use spoofed numbers to make the caller ID look legitimate, appearing as the bank's official fraud line. They use psychological triggers like fear and extreme urgency to disable the employee's critical thinking faculties. When we are afraid, our brains shift from analytical processing to survival mode, the fight or flight response. In this state, we follow instructions from authority figures without question. The fraudster knows this. They don't ask for your password. That would be too obvious and trigger a red flag. Instead, they ask for the one thing you've been told is the solution to security: the verification code. Fear disables verification, and efficiency replaces caution. The employee is now a pawn in a game they don't even know they are playing. This is the moment of disclosure. The employee reads the 6 digits from their phone screen. One small action, one spoken code. And just like that, the control of the entire corporate account is lost. To the employee, they believe they have just confirmed their identity to block a theft. In reality, they have just authorized the very theft they were trying to prevent. The fraudster, listening on the other end, is typing those digits into a real banking portal in real time. This is OTP intercept at its most basic and effective. The system sees a correct OTP from a known device, often masked by a simple proxy to match the company's geography, and it grants full access. The digital handshake is complete. The vault is open. And the most terrifying part? The employee often hangs up the phone feeling like a hero who saved the day. They go back to their work, unaware that they have just signed the death warrant for their company's quarterly profits. One code, one mistake, millions lost. With the OTP in hand, the fraudster bypasses the final authentication barrier. They aren't just in the account, they are verified. Most corporate banking systems are designed with a trusted session logic. Once the OTP is accepted, the session is elevated to a higher security tier. The fraudster now has the power to change daily transfer limits, add new emergency beneficiaries, or even modify the contact details for future alerts, ensuring no further warnings reach the real account holder. They are working with the speed of a machine, executing pre-recorded scripts that navigate the banking interface in seconds. While the employee is getting back to their coffee, the back end of the company's treasury is being reconfigured for a massive outward flow of capital. The system believes the user is genuine because the credentials and the OTP were perfect. It's a ghost in the machine, rewriting the rules of the house from the inside. The breach is total, and the clock is now ticking towards the final execution. The final click is the most silent. It's the authorization of a large-scale corporate payment. In many cases, the fraudster doesn't stop at one transaction. They use the initial access to set up a ghost vendor. This vendor looks like a regular supplier, perhaps a name that differs by just one letter from a real one. They submit a massive invoice for consulting services or IT infrastructure. Because the session is already verified via that first OTP, the second level of approval might be bypassed or handled by the same compromised account. The digital currency begins its journey through a maze of shell company accounts, crossing borders before the bank's internal fraud flags even have time to twitch. The money moves through New York, London, and then disappears into unregulated exchanges. The execution is flawless because it followed every single rule the bank established for security. It is the ultimate irony. The system's own defense was used to facilitate its downfall. The silent click is the sound of a company's future being stolen in plain sight. Consider a real-life scenario involving Rahul, a senior accountant at a mid-sized firm. He receives a call from a long-term vendor claiming they've updated their bank details due to an internal audit. To verify the change, the caller says a secure link has been sent to his mobile. Rahul clicks, receives an OTP, and enters it on the spoofed page to confirm the update. A routine payment of $400,000, or roughly 3 crore rupees, is redirected silently. Rahul sees the successful message and moves on to his next task, satisfied. It's only 3 weeks later, when the real vendor calls asking for their overdue payment, that the truth emerges. But by then, the $400,000 has been converted into cryptocurrency and moved through 4 different jurisdictions. The trail is cold. The damage is permanent. Rahul's career and his company's liquidity are left in tatters by a single 6-digit mistake. It wasn't a technical hack, it was a conversation that went wrong. But it isn't always one large hit. In a more insidious case, fraudsters used OTP manipulation to infiltrate a large retail chain's payroll system. By compromising the HR manager's account through a fake system update (OTP), they gained access to the employee master file. They didn't steal one large sum that would trigger an immediate audit. Instead, they added $5, or about 400 rupees, to the other deductions of every single employee and redirected those small amounts to a centralized shell account. Hundreds of small transfers, unnoticed individually by employees who rarely check their pay stubs to the cent. For 6 months, this digital leeching went on. By the time an internal audit finally flagged the discrepancy, the cumulative loss had reached $2.8 million. This is the power of a single compromised code when it sits at the heart of a high-volume system. It's not just about the big heist. It's about the slow, silent bleed that can kill a company from within. Why does detection fail so often? The answer lies in corporate complacency. Organizations assume that because they have OTP enabled, they are secure. It's a box-ticking exercise for compliance and insurance. Auditors see the 2FA icon and move on to the next risk, satisfied that the human layer is protected. But this creates a dangerous false sense of security. Companies invest millions in software and cyber insurance, yet neglect the most critical hardware in the building, the human brain. If your employees don't understand that an OTP can be used against them in a live conversation, the software is useless. Most fraud detection systems are looking for anomalies in the code, but they are blind to anomalies in the conversation. We have built high walls and deep moats, but we've left the front gate open for anyone who sounds like they belong. Security is not a product you buy. It is a culture you build. Until that shift happens, the OTP will remain the fraudster's favorite tool. Security systems depend on human decisions, and human decisions are fundamentally flawed when we are distracted. The modern corporate environment is a pressure cooker of multitasking. Employees are handling emails, Slack messages, and high-priority phone calls all at once. In this state of cognitive overload, we rely on mental shortcuts, heuristics, to save time. One of those shortcuts is, if the bank calls, I should do what they say to fix the problem. Fraudsters exploit this busyness with surgical precision. They call during peak hours when the employee is most likely to want a security issue resolved quickly so they can get back to their real work. The human firewall is not broken, it's simply overwhelmed. We are training our people to be efficient, but we aren't training them to be skeptical. Until we recognize that awareness is a technical requirement, just as important as a firewall or an encrypted server, these breaches will continue to rise. Efficiency without awareness is just a faster way to lose money. So, how do we stop the invisible thief? It starts with recognizing the red flags before the disclosure happens. First, unsolicited OTPs. If you receive a code you didn't trigger, your credentials have already been compromised. Someone is at the gate. Second, high-pressure calls. No legitimate bank or IT department will ever ask you for an OTP over the phone to block a transaction. They can block it from their end without your help. If they ask for the code, it's because they need you to authorize the theft. Third, unusual timings. OTP requests for corporate accounts at 3 a.m. are a sign of a cross-border attack designed to exploit sleep-deprived staff. These signals are always there, but they require a culture where employees feel empowered to say no to authority and yes to verification. We need to normalize the callback, hanging up and calling the official number ourselves. Awareness is the only real-time patch for human vulnerability. It is the only defense that doesn't have a login screen. As we reflect on these scenarios, a powerful realization emerges. The OTP system itself is not technically broken. It does exactly what it was designed to do, verify a temporary code. But the trust we have built around it, that is what is being exploited. We have reached a point where we must move beyond what we use for security to how we think about it. The real lesson here is that technology is only as strong as the person holding the device. A 15-minute investigation reveals a simple, ancient truth. We don't need more codes, we need more curiosity. We need to question the caller, verify the request through a secondary channel, and understand that in the digital age, Silence is often a better security measure than speech. The most expensive thing a company can own is an employee who doesn't ask why. The shift from compliance to curiosity is the only way to close the gap that fraudsters are currently walking through with ease. Your security isn't in your pocket, it's in your perspective. The future of authentication is moving away from the vulnerable 6-digit code. We are seeing the rise of biometric verification, where your face, your voice, or your unique iris pattern is the key. We are seeing AI-driven behavioral analytics that can detect a fraudster's typing pattern or mouse movement before they even have a chance to enter a code. These systems are designed to remove the human error from the equation entirely. But even these advanced systems will eventually face new threats, from deepfakes to AI-driven social engineering. The ultimate future of security is not just a better piece of technology. It is a mindset. It is the realization that in a world of digital shadows, our most powerful defense is our collective awareness. The code may change, the biometrics may evolve, but the need for vigilance remains constant. As the digital landscape evolves, the question for your organization isn't whether your system is secure, but whether your people are ready for the next evolution of the trap. Stay curious. Stay vigilant. The gate is only as strong as the person standing at it. If this video opened your eyes, like, share, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Corporate Secrets.